fourth down, the final play, unless they can stick it in the end zone. Dorsey under pressure, throws it, incomplete. The Buckeyes win.
Ezekiel Elliott, and he's got an opening. Elliott off to the races. Can they catch him?
Feature the two backs as receivers, and now a downfield shot on first down for the end zone. Touchdown, Ohio State strikes first. Making the judgments again, and there is Smith running free, breaks a tackle. Ohio State strikes quickly from 45 yards. Pressure comes. Shaw, knocked it out, and picks it up. Jack Shaw coming down the sidelines. Ohio State scoop and score and dagger from 82 yards.
Here they come.
Heavy pressure. Howard delivers downfield. It's Smith. He's got it. Jeremiah Smith. The 2025 college football national champion, Coach Ryan Day, and the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Welcome in, Buckeye backers. We are bringing it to you live from Seattle, Washington, to the cornfields of Enid, Ohio. We are the pulse of Buckeye fans across the nation, with Seattle Matt and Buckeye Steve. Well, minus Seattle Matt today. It's the first morning after show with someone other than Seattle Matt. We have Blake Biscardi, who was at the Heisman ceremony. Man, I bet that was a wonderful experience. But I got to ask you, I got to start off with the banger, man. You were the only media member in front of Julian Sayin. That video went viral. It was all around. That's got to be weird, not only for Julian Sayin, but also for you. Sayin's used to being just hounded like one person after another, interrupting people just to get a question to him. And this time he sat back and relaxed with you for a little bit.
He did, yeah, and it was nice to have a familiar face in front of him, I'm sure. But Steve, thank you for having me on today. It was a great experience at the Heisman, getting to do everything that we got to do, all that coverage, such a prestigious event. It really was an honor to be there. And then being with Sayin, yeah, Yahoo Sports just kind of panned the room. I talked to the reporter yesterday who did it. He's like, I saw it happening. I just had to capture the moment in there. And yeah, I got to ask Julian a handful of questions. And then at one point, I just kind of put my phone in my back pocket and I just said, Julian, off the record, we just kind of started talking as guys. And we were just having a good time there. And, you know, it wasn't a representation of the entire time. He did have some people in and out of his table, but that one moment that we had together was a couple minutes. And he is used to being swarmed. And I think that's going to be something that some of these reporters may look back on this weekend and say, like, I wish I spent more time with Julian. Because, I mean, Steve, we know because you and I are in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center with him. We cover him. A lot of these national reporters don't cover Julian Sayin up close. They don't know him the way that we do. He's a great guy. He's a high character guy. He's even keeled, complete class act. I mean, he's everything that you want in a quarterback. Maybe this year wasn't his year to win the Heisman Trophy, but if you want a guy who would represent what that Heisman fraternity and the Heisman Trust look for in a candidate and in a winner, Julian Sayin has all those traits. And you heard Ryan Day say that during the broadcast at the ceremony last night. It was kind of that, Julian, you're here. You're a younger guy. These guys are all veterans. Your time's going to come. And I completely agree with that. And it was great that I got to have that moment with him. That was really cool. And I think those reporters are going to look back and say, I wish we spent more time with Julian, because that's a rare opportunity to have him there. He's going to be back in New York one day, and that table is going to be full. Mm-hmm. But for now, really, really cool moment. And I'm sure we'll see that as motivation. I've already seen it tagged in a couple hype videos for the playoffs, and Ohio State's about to get unlocked because of Julian Sayin what happened there with just him and I at the table, and then Jeremiah Smith getting snubbed in the Bolitnikoff, which we'll get to, I'm sure, a little bit later in the show.
That's definitely in there. I got that all chalked up and ready to go. I want to touch on something because my mind went to the same place that yours went when you talked about Ryan Day. And Ryan Day, he made that remark for a reason. Everything Ryan Day says is intentional, and he knows he's got that guy at quarterback. But he's a first-year starter. All these other guys had experience at numerous other schools, really. You know, if you take out Jeremiah Love, I think he's only been at Notre Dame, right? I can't remember him transferring at all. And a little bit of a snub for Jeremiah Love too, I think, just because he's a running back, you know, and he's not that quarterback. He's not touching the ball every single play. it's hard for a running back to win, but there's always one usually representing at the Heisman ceremony. But Julian Sayin had the numbers to be up there in consideration. So it's not really a snub because you lose that biggest game against another competitor in the Heisman and Mendoza. Do you think if Sayin would have won that game and had outstanding stats, do you think he would have been the Heisman winner?
I thought that all along. I know we've talked about that. And it was pretty widely speculated across the country that the winning quarterback of the Big Ten championship game would win the Heisman Trophy. Seeing the voting, I was a little bit surprised at how many votes Diego Pavia had compared to Jeremiah Love and Julian Sayin.
Mm-hmm.
And, you kind of get into that situation where you're like, all right, who's the ball knowers that are voting here? And it's, again, there's no disrespect going around. It's just Diego Pavia he's been around in the Heisman conversation, but I'm looking at the numbers right here, and he had 189 first place votes. They handed us the packet with all the results, and I'm looking through this, and I see Diego Pavia up there so much. I'm like, I don't know. Jeremiah Love, I think, agreed. He should have had more votes. Julian Sayin should have had more votes. And if Julian Sayin won the Big Ten championship game, in my opinion, he should have won the Heisman Trophy.
Correct.
I don't know how many voters would agree with that. And I don't know if there's bias coming along from the SEC or not. I just think if you look at caliber of football player of those four guys, and this is no slight to Diego Pavia at all because he's a great player. I think you have a really special running back in Jeremiah Love, and then also a special quarterback in Julian Sayin. He just set the record for completion percentage as a sophomore and as a first-time starter. And Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Love didn't have to play the full game in a lot of these matchups that they had the whole season because of how good the team was. Marcus Freeman and Ryan Day, they're not into stat padding. Diego Pavia, yes. Has he resurrected Vanderbilt football? Absolutely. He deserves his flowers for that. He's had to play the full games for that. But I do think that Julian Sayin should have won the Heisman Trophy if he won the Big Ten championship game. But I do think in the future, maybe next year, we're going to be saying Julian Sayin as a Heisman Trophy winner.
For sure. And these are the numbers if we wanted to throw them up there real quick. And before we get to it, we're going to talk about the locker room a little bit. Doug says the Southern voters will always vote for Southern players. And it is regional. You're going to get those regional votes for sure. But the South seems to stick together for everything. And Mika, we're fired up. Go Bucks. National champions. We are building a dynasty. We're ready for it. And we're going to talk a little bit about that motivation from all of this, really, in just a minute. But you see, of the top 10, this speaks to the team. Downs finished 9th, right? Jeremiah Smith finished 6th. So we had 3 guys in the top 10 of the Heisman voting, which is outstanding. But also they're taking votes away from the top guy. So that's where I think you have a little bit of the problem with Julian Sayin not getting all those votes and I know it wouldn't have pushed him over top, but he would have been a little higher on the list.
Yeah, you definitely see. Julian Sayin was asked that. He's like, you have 3 guys in the top 10 on Ohio State. It speaks to the caliber of the roster, speaks to the caliber of the recruiting that's done, but also the development, because you can be a 4 or 5-star recruit, come in the building, and everyone's like, oh, you have a lot of talent. But that talent hasn't done anything. When you're given a star rating in high school, that doesn't translate to results in college. You actually have to earn those. You have to develop. And it speaks to the development of the Ohio State roster. And then even yesterday in the press conference, Julian Sayin was asked what coach on the team has not gotten the credit that they should. So maybe like that unseen hero, because we know Ryan Day being the quarterback guru, he's an elite quarterback coach. Brian Hartline, we know he gets his flowers all the time. And he talked about Billy Fessler and how integral he's been in his quarterback development, and how in every meeting he's always preaching to stay even keeled and to keep his composure. And that was really, really evident on the field all season, but then also being up close to Julian, handling this moment with all those other finalists up there in New York. And you could just see his poise and his character. They were jumping off the page at you, and it was extremely evident in that room, being up close to those 4 guys.
That was interesting because Billy Fessler at the beginning of the year during spring practices was talking about how Julian Sayin was more of a rotational thrower, quick release. That doesn't always lead to big throws down the field or a strong arm, but that was something that they were working on so that he could, develop that deep ball that they needed. And seems to be at times something that they don't use enough. But I just wanted to make the emphasis that Billy Fessler was a good interview, someone that you want to talk to, and is a coach on the up and coming for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And just going back to that deep ball comment, Steve, I do think we're going to see that deep ball in full force over the next 3 games.
Yeah. And that leads right into what all this is doing for Ohio State, the motivational tactic. Like this right there says it all. There's no words that need to be said right now. Now, we talked about Julian saying he had a case. Jeremiah Smith deserved to have this trophy in his hands, the Blitnikoff. There is no doubt about it in my mind. Their stats were similar, but just use your eyes. If you watch Jeremiah Smith, I believe it was someone else that said, this is a guy that when you look at some of the stuff he does, you realize you're never going to see this again. And I'm paraphrasing from one of the other Buckeye media, but it's true. He's a generational player. He has the skill set. He has the work ethic. He has the knowledge, and he has the speed and the dedication to the game. He's just going to get better. And wow, what a great, like, he's a humble guy too, man. For being a superstar like that, just, I mean, you don't really hear him talking crap. You saw that video that he posted though, right?
Oh,
His
yeah,
motivation's high.
I did. That's why Good,
Yeah,
good
and
luck,
that's
college football.
That's going to be on a lot of highlight videos too. So the gas is about to get turned up in the playoffs.
It is. And what's really interesting too with Malachi Lemon winning the Blitnikoff and not Jeremiah Smith is, if I remember correctly, both of those receivers are in the Big Ten. So I don't know how you can't win Big Ten wide receiver of the year and the Blitnikoff. So if you're not the best receiver in your own conference, how do you win the Blitnikoff as the best receiver in college football? I'll just leave the argument there because it is really obvious outside of that. But just boiling it down to an actual statistic here, to me, how do you win best receiver in the Big Ten, but not the Blitnikoff, and another receiver in the Big Ten wins the Blitnikoff? Why wouldn't he have won the Big Ten receiver of the year too, if he is the best receiver in college football?
I mean, well, look at the statistics. They're fairly similar, right? If you go up, Jeremiah Smith is number 7 here on this list, and Lemon is 3. They have 79 for Lemon. JJ has 80 catches on the year. Their yards are also very similar, 1,156 compared to Jeremiah Smith's 1,086. Touchdowns, I think they're exactly the same. They both have 11, yep. And like yards per game are going to be similar too, 6.6 and 6.7 yards per game. I mean, 96.3 yards per game. Sorry, that was receptions per game. Yards per game is 90 and 96.3. So really similar stats. At that point, how do you compare guys? If their stats are similar, it's got to be more of the eye test or how they did it against competition. Now, I did see some posting from one of the Trojan fans comparing their stats against Michigan and comparing their stats against Illinois. Some of that's just because they weren't taking shots. They weren't taking those deep balls to Jeremiah Smith. You saw in the Big Ten championship game, if you want to throw it up for 49 yards, you can throw it up for 49 yards, and there can be 5 guys covering Jeremiah Smith. He might still bring it in.
Well, the other thing is, Steve, there's Cornell Tate on the opposite side of Jeremiah Smith. So just take a fraction of that production from Cornell Tate this year, put it in Jeremiah Smith's stat category, and then Jeremiah Smith wins the stat vote too.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why it's hard. Stats are relative like that. Malachi Lemon's the feature receiver for USC, and he's a great player. It's not to take anything away from him, but they are different caliber players.
Correct.
And that's the thing. You look at the eye test, you see the frame and the complete body of work and gameplay of Jeremiah Smith compared to Malachi Lemon. That's where you're like, it's pretty obvious choice. I mean, both talented receivers, but Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football.
And you get to the point, you made that point, and that put my mind immediately at that play. Remember when Jeremiah Smith kind of went in motion like they were going to give him a handoff or a pass
Yes.
on, I guess it was against, I can't remember if it was against Ohio or Minnesota, but one of those two teams, and Jeremiah Smith just laughed because 5 guys were covering him. Tate one-on-one just burns the guy.
Yep.
So a lot of it, he was used as a decoy to set up Tate because Tate is a excellent first-round receiver in and of himself. It's just Jeremiah Smith is going to go number 1 overall whenever he decides to go out.
And two, he's almost getting the LeBron treatments. Like, his
Mhm.
greatness, that standard is so much higher than everybody else's.
Mhm.
And then he just doesn't win the MVP award.
Mhm.
It's a similar case
Right.
to that. It's like LeBron was the best player in the NBA for years and years and years and didn't win the MVP. Like, well, you got to give it to somebody else
Yeah.
because that standard is just so much higher than everybody else's. It's pretty similar for Jeremiah Smith there.
Yeah. And you see that with in game too. The refs
Oh, yeah.
aren't going to call a hold on him because he's
Mhm.
just too good.
Right.
You hold him every play.
Hmm.
That Michigan touchdown, Michigan fans were all mad because maybe it shouldn't have been a touchdown, but it definitely should have been a holding or an interference, depending on when the ball left the quarterback's hand.
Right.
It's just interesting. The only option you have is to hold him. He's that good. And even when you do, he's going to catch it. Or, quadruple coverage him, and he's still going to make catches. So he got the snub. We're going to see a lot more out of him. These
Absolutely.
playoffs, you're going to see voter fatigue. That's a good call from the locker room.
Yes.
Mika, voter fatigue. I totally agree with you. And that's exactly what you said. They could vote for him every time. They could vote for Ohio State players every time because they're that good. Now, you got to give Indiana credit for the Heisman because Mendoza did it. He won it. He won the game. So he won the Heisman fair and square. And he's a great baller, man. Great baller. And it was good to see Indiana for the very first time ever getting a Heisman. For the first time since 67 winning the Big Ten championship. For the first time since 88 beating Ohio State. This is an epic team. It almost seems too good to be true storybook. But I have a feeling we're going to meet them in the playoffs, in the championship, to exact some revenge.
That was the feel of New York too. And just to go back to Mendoza for a second too,
Mhm.
he was also a class act. He handled himself really, really well the entire weekend. His speech was outstanding. He came in and gave a press conference to us afterwards, which was also really cool. And a great moment back in that press room was Mendoza's teammates coming to surprise him. So he walked in and all of his teammates were there. They kind of just jumped on him. There's a rush right at the door. I don't know if you guys have seen that video. If not, we can put it up on socials. But his teammates were all there and they were jumping up and then leaving. They were going, Heisman, Mendoza, just all out the hotel and just having a really, really good time together. And you could, see the love that they had for him and how exciting it was for Mendoza, but also Indiana football. That's a team award. A quarterback is a product of those around him. He's got a great offensive line. He's got a solid defense, and he's got great playmakers on offense. And Mendoza's an elite enough player to execute all those plays and to play at such a high level to lead Indiana to a 13-0 season, win a Big Ten championship game as the number 1 team in college football. But that was a really cool moment, having his family in the background, Coach Signetti over there, and then a lot of his teammates just coming in and celebrating him and supporting him from the back was a really cool moment.
Yeah, and it kind of shows you how everyone that's an athlete, even though they seem like they're not a person to the average fans, these are people. These are real emotions. These are kids almost. Maybe kind of inching their way to adulthood, and it's just awesome to see. Even if it's another team, it's awesome to see them excited and earn their spot there. I can't believe that, man. Just being in New York for the Heisman ceremony has got to be great for all those kids.
Oh yeah, and then even taking the trophy out, there's a photo op that they do with the winner in Times Square, and all of his teammates are out there too. So we're all walking out with his teammates and the police, just getting the escort out into Times Square, and just the fun that they were having in that moment in Times Square with the trophy, passing it around, joking around with each other. I mean, it was just a boys on boys moment, you're just having a great time. It was like everyone got to be a glimpse into the locker room real quick. That was taken into Times Square with thousands of people around.
Sure.
And, you have people out there who are like, oh my gosh, that's Fernando Mendoza. I know him. And that's awesome. And then you have people like, what is this for?
Who are they?
What's the Heisman Trophy? Like, you have that range in New York, but you see this party happening in the middle of Times Square. And it all was a really, really cool moment to be up close and just seeing the joy and the sense of accomplishment from Mendoza and Indiana. And, Kurt Signetti was joking. He's like, guys, this party's over on Tuesday. And then the guys clapped back like, Monday it's over. The day before, because they have to lock in for the playoff matchup. They said they're going to key in on Oklahoma and Alabama, and then we'll see what happens in the Rose Bowl.
Yeah. Did any of the players, coaches kind of start talking about playoffs yet? Or do you think they had those conversations with each other? Because, there was some video of Julian Sayin and Fernando Mendoza kind of talking with each other. And we wanted to, everyone was like, "What? I wonder what they're saying to each other. I wonder what they're saying." They're probably talking about just normal college kid type of things, but it would have been awesome if they were like, "Yeah, we're going to meet each other. Be prepared to see me again."
I will tell you, I had a lot of the Indiana media. I was talking to them, and they all, when we left, they said, "We'll see you in Miami." So the media side feels good. The players and the coaches, I'm not going to label them from saying anything like that or share those remarks, but I mean, those conversations have been had, and they're a process-oriented team, just like Ohio State is. They're not one that's going to say, "Oh, we have it bookended to Miami," because Mendoza, in his speech last night, he said no one remembers the number one team in the country last year going into the playoffs. Because Oregon was in the same exact position that Indiana is this year, and Ohio State came and beat them and won the national championship. And Mendoza brought that up, so Indiana's aware of that just as much as Ohio State is or Oregon would be going into this playoff system. Just because you're ranked number one doesn't guarantee you anything. You have that bye week, but you're going to the Rose Bowl. This is going to be an outstanding venue in Pasadena. I know everyone from Indiana, whether it's players, coaches, family, or media, everyone is excited to get out to Pasadena, for the Hoosiers. So they're going to be really, really amped up for that matchup. And I think the big hurdle for Indiana is coming down from the high of winning the Big Ten championship and then Mendoza getting the Heisman Trophy. It's handling all that with poise. And when you look at a team that has the capability to do it, you want that to be a veteran team, and that's what Indiana is. But now they have to put it to the test against an SEC opponent in Pasadena.
For sure. And just being in Pasadena, man,
right?
Being there last year with Ohio State, and wow, I mean, going against the number one team. The thing that they didn't have, though, that wasn't the same as a Heisman Trophy winner. So Indiana's got that this year. And you're right. The veteran team, it makes a difference. Or you're able to kind of come across and defeat some of those obstacles like, all right, we made it. We're finally at the Rose Bowl. We won the Big Ten. You can't rest on your laurels. You got to keep going. Hopefully the Big Ten's going to represent in the playoffs, because I'd love to see some SEC boys get knocked off.
I do think the Big Ten is going to represent well in the playoff. The caliber team that Indiana and Ohio State are. Oregon's had to get healthy. So if Oregon's healthy, I think their side of the bracket is going to be favorable for them too. Having to win that first game against James Madison, they can do that relatively easily. But then I think they can match up well with Texas Tech, which is really talented. And Jacob Rodriguez too. He finished 5th in the Heisman voting. What an outstanding player he is. So I would love to see him going against that Oregon front, because I know Oregon's had some injuries up front all year, and maybe they're missing a couple receivers. Their health is going to be key for them making it around, because if Oregon's healthy, Oregon's going to win 2 games in the playoff.
Did you happen to see the graphic? I know you were in a media room during the ceremony, but they flashed a graphic with Julian Sayin, and I wish I would have snagged that graphic, but it was first in completion percentage across the board everywhere. And Temple of Brutus just posted this. "I'm happy with Indiana for being relevant for a couple of years. Also, Sayin lost the Heisman with a 79% completion percentage, which would be a Heisman record." That is pretty impressive.
I do have that graphic. I'm actually going to pull that up for you. It is extremely impressive for Sayin and what he was able to do. This is the graphic right here.
Yeah, that's the one. I should snag that, because that was
I'll send it to you.
Impressive. If you don't mind just reading that off for the people that are going to be listening on audio.
Yeah, you're looking at completion percentage this season for Julian Sayin on throws that had 20 or more air yards. He was 67%. That was tied for first in the FBS. Against pressure, he was 68%. That's first. Against the blitz, 77%. Also first. Outside the pocket, 79%. First again. And on the move, 80%. Also good for first.
See, that's the difference. That's what I saw in the Big Ten championship game, that I was wondering why we weren't rolling them out more. Those on the move,
right, moving
and
the pocket.
outside the pocket. When he rolled out, that tight end was open coming across the field.
Oh, yeah.
Every single time. I don't know why we didn't do more of that. I think getting him on the move against a team like Indiana is something that they're going to have to do more of, with all the pressure they had in the pocket, with the 5 sacks, almost as many as they had for the season, which was 6. They got to get him on the move more, especially if they want to keep Tager in there at right guard.
Yeah, Tegra, he needs to play better, and we'll see if he's in the lineup for the college football playoff and how all that shakes out. But I know Gabe Bensickle when he came in, or Josh Padilla, those are two of the guys that you look at on that right side of the offensive line. But Ohio State has to clean that up, because you can move the pocket if you have good protection. But if you don't have good protection, it doesn't matter if you're in the pocket or out of the pocket, because Julian Sayin's a right-handed quarterback. You don't want to put him left on almost a bootleg. You don't want to move the pocket that way. It's a little bit harder for a right-handed quarterback. So I do think that's the area of concern and to watch for Ohio State if you were seeing, okay, matchup-wise, what teams could really exploit that again. And I do think that Georgia would be able to do so. Miami potentially, if they win. But we'll see how that goes.
Mika is saying Tegra is out and hurt, I think. I didn't know that, but I guess we'll see. When the time comes, we'll know. Let Indiana get it. Indiana will beat Oklahoma or Bama. And I think Indiana loses somewhere after that. I don't think they do. I think they make it to the title. I hope they do, to be honest with you.
If Indiana can handle the moment and them not be riding on the high of the Big Ten championship and the Heisman Trophy, I think Indiana's going to play for a national championship, because there's 3 teams in the country I think that could win the title, Indiana being one of them, Ohio State the second team, and then Georgia. And Indiana doesn't have to play either team until the national championship game. A rematch with Oregon's tricky, but I think Indiana's the better team and can win that game again if that becomes the matchup. That's not a guaranteed matchup, but if that's the one, I think that would be the spot where if you're Indiana, you're like, ooh, don't love that.
And Steely Matt just says basically the same thing you said earlier. Julian Sayin is a class act, carries himself remarkably well. Proud he's a Buckeye. Yeah, he's someone that you definitely are like, damn, glad he is over here now and not at Alabama.
Oh, yeah. And I asked him too. I was like, Julian, what's being a Buckeye mean to you? And why did you choose Ohio State? And, he had really, really good things to say about being a Buckeye. And then why he chose Ohio State was, he said, because the culture is really strong and it's really hard to find. He also mentioned the tradition at Ohio State and then the people inside the building. And Ohio State's hallmark phrase is the excellence, tradition, and people. And it shows regardless of what it is. It's not just a catchphrase. That is why people choose Ohio State. That's why players choose Ohio State. It's why coaches choose Ohio State, because of those 3 things. And
although it may be the hallmark phrase, I think Ryan Day has taken that to a new level.
He has.
Where the people are both athletically and culturally and
really good alignment.
Wise beyond their years too. These kids are more mature than most 40-year-olds.
Yeah, it's a high character group of players, no doubt. Right. And even when you walk into the facility, you can feel the culture when you walk in.
Absolutely.
When you're talking to Coach Day, you can feel it. When you're talking to the players, you can feel it. When you see them interacting with each other, when you see them walking off the practice field or whatever their interactions are doing, you can see the culture and the camaraderie that Coach Day has built here in Columbus. And that is the most special part to me, I think, about covering this team. Is you hear about cultures all the time and how important it is. It's a really big buzzword, but it doesn't mean anything unless it's on your heart and you actually live it out. And it's very evident that Ryan Day and these players and these coaches do live it out. And you can feel it when you walk in. Like you walk through those doors and you get amped up walking into the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Just because you love being there, the atmosphere and the environment that's in there. And it's also the most ultra competitive place that you'll find in America too. It's not just this feel good, safe place. No, this is the highest level of competition, is an ultra competitive environment with a great culture. And that is what has Ohio State being elite right now with what Ryan Day's created.
Absolutely. You can feel the professionalism as soon as you walk into the building. Before we get any further, I got to do a quick ad read. Polymarket, the world's largest prediction market. Polymarket is allowing you to stay informed and profit from your knowledge by betting on future events across various topics. So we have a link to Polymarket. I'll copy that and put it in the comments, and you can see it anywhere we post on social media too. It's a good place to go look. I mean, if you want to bet. I don't bet a lot, but when I do, it's college football. So I don't bet on politics or anything like that. But Polymarket allows you to do stuff like that. So it's kind of cool to look at that. You can bet on the news, basically. It's pretty sweet to see. So go check it out. I'll put a link in our comments too. But let's get on to Buckeye football. The line does have to block better. So, especially against Miami, and Miami has a good defensive line. But they have to block better for everyone in the playoffs. I mean, these are the best teams in America. You better be blocking well. You better be at the top of your game. Even if it's Texas A&M, you still got to block well against them. They just made it through the SEC with one loss.
Right. And to Julian Sayin and Ryan Day both said this, like, we have to be at our best. We weren't at our best in Indianapolis, but we have to be at our best moving forward. And Ryan Day talks about it. It's every single position group. It's every single unit. Urban's big thing was 9 units strong. That is exactly precisely what has to happen for Ohio State in the playoff. And like we said, I have a lot of confidence in the quarterback position. I have a lot of confidence in the wide receiver position, in the running back position, and in the defense. Offensive line. You need to have good line play to win these matchup style games late in the season. And for Ohio State, it's got to play better, and that right side has to be shored up. And then they've got to figure out these tight end formations too.
This is an interesting comment. Nothing that I even thought of until just now. Saying Jeremiah and Bo for Heisman next year. We'll have 3 in there again.
And honestly, yeah.
Caleb returns where there's some rumors. It's a possibility. Highly unlikely, but you could have 4 guys in the top 10.
I mean, I asked Julian Sayin about Bo Jackson too, and he said he's really come on playing really good football as of late. And he said he has a lot of confidence in Bo Jackson. Absolutely. And he's a true freshman. And I think, you can as fans or you can as media and be like, okay, he's going to produce. But your quarterback is saying that about a true freshman. You could see it from the coaching staff too. I mean, when Bo Jackson, he didn't play against Texas. But once he got on the field against Grambling, I mean, you're like, okay, that's the best running back in the room. It's just going to be a matter of time before he's a starter. And they kept adding to his plate and adding to his plate and adding to his plate. And we saw that all come to fruition against Michigan, where he was completely dominant. And then I expect to see more of that in the college football playoff and into the next 2 seasons, because we have Bo Jackson for a couple years.
He just kind of submitted himself into that legendary status with that run against
right in the lore.
Michigan. That stutter step along the sidelines where he juked the crap out of their best tackler, really. I can't remember the guy's name, but he's a linebacker. Juked him, went on down the field, and had some words to say to some of the Michigan defenders afterwards. I'd love to know what those words were, but you can see it on the field. And other things that happened, like Julian Sayin, after he hit that touchdown pass to Tate, too, to switch back to that. And then he goes up and he headbutts Tate afterwards. Like, I just saw that again, and I was like, wow, dude. That was like seeing Sayin get pumped up like that. You don't see those emotions from him. But when he saves it for the team up north, that's awesome. I love every minute of it.
Yeah.
And he's starting to get it a little bit, man.
Yeah, the moxie's coming for him for sure. But I mean, he's as locked in, as even keeled, and as poised as ever. And his numbers reflect that. It's not just people talking about it. I mean, that is evident when he's sitting there talking to the media, when he's just being himself, with no cameras around, or when he's on the field. I mean, he is as even keeled and as poised as you could ask for a young guy.
Sorry. Mr. Bucknuts, he said, what I mean about Indiana is I don't think that they're going to win, especially if they play Ohio State again. And I think Texas Tech beats Oregon. That's a good foreshadowing. That would be a game that I'd really love to see, actually. Because you really don't know how good Texas Tech is coming out of the Big 12 until they face another conference, right? They waxed BYU twice. But is BYU that good? Hard to tell. We'll figure out more as the playoffs come. That's why the playoffs is awesome. And that's why I really like that every conference is really representative in the playoffs. That's why I like that they went to 12. I didn't like the 4 because they always chose like 2 Big 10 or 2 SEC and left a conference out that should have been in. You don't know how good a ACC team is until they get matched up at the end of the season against another conference. You don't know how good a Big 10 team is or a Big 12 team. Also, a reason that I thought you don't put 5 teams from a conference in. If you're the 5th place team in your conference and you didn't win against another conference in the offseason, why are you there? 4 teams absolutely should be max for a conference. I mean, that is a little bit too much.
It's a fair way to look at it, but I think you have to look at the talent profiles of the teams, how they stack up. I mean, the depth of the Big Ten and the SEC, I can see where the 5 teams can come from. One year I don't think consistently, but I know Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are going to fight for that because it means more exposure for the conference, more opportunity for the conference, and more revenue for the conference. So there's all those drivers in there too. And this year, the ACC could barely produce a team. The Big 12 produced one team. Arguable they had to maybe a stretch of a third with Utah, but Utah really was never going to be in that playoff mix. They had a ceiling, which we all knew from beforehand. But yeah, it's nice to make college football super national in the playoff that way, have everybody represented. I do think they need to fix the seeding and all too, because now you're having 2 G5 teams in there with James Madison and Tulane, and Notre Dame sitting at home when Notre Dame should be in.
Yeah, I think it would probably be better to just say 4 conferences rather than 5. And this might be an outlier season.
They should have it where that G5 team or those, you have to be ranked inside of a certain number. You have to be a top 15 team, let's say, to get that auto bid as a conference champion. If not, then it becomes at large or top 20 or top 18, whatever number that they would choose. I would think that would be the way to clean that up.
That's fair.
We had a 5-loss team win the ACC. Like, what if James Madison wasn't ranked? What team would get in is like, okay, do we have to put Duke in? Just to avoid situations like that, I would just say these teams must be ranked inside of this number in order to qualify for the playoff. And
otherwise, it becomes an at-large bid.
Correct.
That would be awesome. I could get on board with that. I like.
Yeah, and they could fight for the at-large spot, but yeah, it becomes at-large. You sacrifice the bid.
Cool. Yeah. I'm down with that. The only problem I see is, like, if you go back years, well, I guess you'd still get one, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this case, this particular year, but other years you wouldn't, right? Because if the ACC had, let's say Miami won the ACC, or let's say Virginia won the ACC, so they would be in, and they would be ranked high enough to be in. But then the next would be no one else in the group of 5 is rated top 15, so they wouldn't make it.
And that's okay.
There would be no group of 5.
The G5 teams are already at a competitive disadvantage talent-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So Boise State being the outlier last year, they had the talent profile to at least play in the game. I know they still got dominated, but they had the talent profile to play. I don't think the G5 teams do this year, and that's okay. You just don't have access this year. You don't have the team. You didn't produce a team that could play at that level because it's already hard. Why not put Notre Dame in the playoff this year when you have those teams ranked inside the top 15? Okay, Notre Dame, you get in the playoff this year, and then maybe BYU has that other team in, and then there's your 12-team playoff minus James Madison and Tulane plus Notre Dame and BYU. I think that's a really, really competitive 12-team field, and Notre Dame sitting at the 11th seed has a chance to win the national championship, in my opinion.
You guys got me deep in a rabbit hole of off-season conversation. Let's talk some football. All right, we already know what it is. We don't have to guess. We don't have to go into what we want to change. We'll save that for once football's all done and the topics are dried up. Let's talk about passing situations from Mr. Bucknuts. In passing situations, Bo should be used to beat the blitz and to take the pressure off of Julian Sayin. Absolutely. I want Bo in on goal line too, because he's the one that slithers. He's the one that can get in a small hole. He's the one that fights forward every single time. I know he's not as big. I know he doesn't want to take a pounding, but at least give him a shot. And when you do give him a shot, put him through the left side of the line, not the right side of the line, and let me see that Bo Jackson score a touchdown, man. He does not get enough touchdowns and not enough love for what he's produced all the way down the field. I hate to see that for a running back. When you take them out in goal line situations, they've ran the ball all the way down the field. I understand you wanted to save them, but in the playoffs, let the man score. Please let the man score a touchdown.
Yeah, I think some of that is situational, but I don't know if this is going to be a hot take or if this is going to be actually just a really good take. I think Ohio State should spread it out at the goal line, to be completely honest with you. I think they should spread the field as completely wide as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Have Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate outside. You have Brandon Ennis in the slot. Max Clare sitting in there, Will Kazmarek, either of those two guys. Those tight sets, when they telegraph that they're going to run the football and they either take Smith or Tate off the field, or even if they have them both in there and they're still just in a super tight run, obvious formation, you're telegraphing it. And teams, that's where Ohio State's not been successful. So why keep doing it? Why?
But that's not
right.
That's not Ohio State football either. That's not our MO. We're trying to be something we aren't. We have all world wide receivers. What I'd like to see is to put quads 4 wide on one side and then motion Jeremiah Smith into the single coverage on the other side. See what happens with the defense. Then you know if you're in man or you're in zone coverage, and then you know what to do, how to audible the play.
Yeah, and I don't even think Ohio State has to throw the ball being spread out inside the goal line, but the threat of it and the stress it places on the defense, like, oh my gosh, are they going to throw to Jeremiah Smith? Am I going to have to fight for a 50-50 ball right now? Is he about to come across the formation? Or are they going to hand it off to Bo Jackson or CJ Donaldson or James Peoples or Isaiah West? Like, to me, spread everybody out and just say, all right, my 5 are better than your 5.
Yep.
And my running back is better than your 6-man backer. That, to me, and run the ball that way, because it's not working now being in those tight sets or in those jumbo heavy sets with all the tight ends. Just go back to your normal offensive set. Spread it out, run a bunch. Even if you have it tight with the wide receivers there with the threat of them spreading out, and have it be RPO style. If you see Jeremiah Smith getting loose on the outside, he has space. Okay, just pull it and throw it. If not, just give it.
Blake, judging by our comments in the locker room, I think it was more of a good take than a hot take. Yes, exactly, 100%. And utilize these weapons. And I think they agreed to me about the motion, which kind of bounces off of your idea too.
Right.
So, yeah, absolutely. You got to stress defenses, and how best to stress defenses than have your best players on the field. Doesn't make any sense. And you don't see them doing that in the NFL.
Yeah, especially in a restricted area where the pressure is like, this is going to be a 50-50 ball if it comes my way. I have Jeremiah Smith in one-on-one coverage, or they're going to double him, and that means, okay, man, I can't throw to Jeremiah Smith. I have to throw to Carnell Tate. Darn. It's like you have options across the entire field when you have all of your stars in those high moments, and just the pressure and the stress it puts on the defense. That can force a mistake. It could be as a decoy, or you just cash in on your embarrassment of riches.
For sure. Too bad Tate's leaving for the draft. Another legend is going to be into his final college football playoff. Going to miss Mr. Tate. Absolutely. I mean, he came on later in his career, but he developed, and this is why you go to Ohio State. This is why you're in the 2 deep at Ohio State, is because you get that one chance at a starting year. You're going to make it. And you saw him come on against Northwestern last year, and then you knew, all right, this dude's going to be a dude. And this year, wow. I mean, all that attention on Jeremiah Smith allowed Tate to showcase, what he's got as far as speed, as far as catching ability, as far as length. The dude, he's a first rounder now. Played himself into it. And that's what we expect at Ohio State. And now it's not just wide receivers. It's across the board everywhere. You look at linebackers. Whoo. Arvell Reese kind of got snubbed too.
That room.
Yeah. Absolutely transformed it. I don't really care what the Raiders take, but I used to be a Raiders fan with Bo Jackson a little bit.
Maybe they'll get to run that back and draft Bo in a couple years.
Yeah. Man. So who do you want in the playoff? Texas A&M or Miami?
I have a personal reason that I want Miami. One of my best friends works for Miami, and we dreamed about being on the same field together. So,
that would be cool.
I have a personal reason I want Miami to win that game.
Absolutely. I would like Miami to win it. It wouldn't, one of the reasons is because their coach is 1-0 against Ohio State. He was coaching with Oregon, Cristobal, but he's 1-0. I'd like to see Day make that even, and in a game that matters more.
Yeah, I'd also rather play Miami because the game is in Texas. I'd rather not play a Texas team in Texas again because, Ohio State always gets the short end of the stick with draws of who they have to play. Oregon on the West Coast last year in the Rose Bowl, Texas in Texas. It's not always smooth sailing for the Buckeyes with draws and venues and everything. So I'd rather take Miami in Dallas than take A&M in Dallas.
I'd also like to see the SEC lose, having 5 teams. I'd like to see them lose right away. I'd love the ACC to beat one of the top dogs in the SEC. I'd love for Ole Miss to lose to Tulane. That would be a miracle. And man, would it be good. I doubt that happens, but the quicker we can get these SEC teams out of the playoffs, the better it is for the Big Ten perception, because that means we're winning some of these games too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or even if you have a national championship that is Ohio State, Indiana, it just it solidifies the claim all year long that those are the 2 best teams in college football.
Correct.
And I don't want to minimize Georgia in this either when I keep talking about an Ohio State, Indiana national championship game. I think if Ohio State and Georgia both win their quarterfinal games, that is going to be a heavyweight fight.
Absolutely.
With the way Georgia's playing now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I do think if Ohio State's offensive line is cleaned up and good, I think then Ohio State still has the advantages in all the right places in the game. But you're playing Kirby Smart, you're playing Georgia. Georgia's hot. Georgia has felt a little bit disrespected all season long, and Kirby Smart's an excellent motivator. Those are the 2 best coaches in the sport. So that would be a chess match. So I really am looking forward to seeing that game too. I still like Ohio State in the game, but it's not a sleepwalk to a national championship if you're Ohio State.
Oh, absolutely not. We, another year where we didn't get a great draw, but when you get that bye game, you're not going to get a good draw.
Right.
Because the good teams are going to, come out in the wash, basically. So you're going to have, I agree with you, that Georgia game playing against Georgia's been coming on strong exactly when you want them to. At the beginning of the year, I'd take that Georgia game all day long.
Me too.
Now they look like a team who's focused, who's gotten better as the season progressed, and the way they thumped Alabama, that's the kind of team you want heading into the playoffs.
It is. And the other thing with Georgia too, the flip side of that coin, is have they played a team that could stress them out the way that Ohio State could? And that to me would be my question for Georgia, because Alabama was a little bit banged up in the SEC championship game. I think Ole Miss was the last team that could do something similar to Georgia, what Ohio State could. Texas didn't really do a lot to them. I see Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. The backside of Georgia's defense has been the weakness all season long. I would love to see that matchup against Georgia's secondary.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. They're always going to have a good defensive line, though. And that is where the matchup comes to me. What our offensive line does against top-tier defensive lines, which is, again, why I think Mr. Bucknuts is more worried about Miami. He mentioned that earlier, Miami's defensive line. Mario Cristobal always has a good line offensively and defensively. He gets those big guys up front. He kind of developed Oregon into the type of program they are today, which Dan Lanning, I think, has, again, taken it to a new level. So we don't want to discount Oregon either. I think they're a sleeping giant. Maybe Texas Tech could be too. It's just I want to see them against some higher level competition before I really say they're the real deal.
I agree. I want to see Texas Tech play Oregon, and then I can make a full judgment call on how good the Red Raiders are.
For sure. I mean, they look like they could be. They've been showing out. They've done everything that they needed to. They lost, in a close game to a conference foe. Did they lose to Arizona State?
Lost to Arizona State, but the quarterback was out.
Yeah. So, I mean, they deserve to be there. We're going to see how good they are once those big-time matchups come forward. And someone mentioned earlier that they should have gone to 8 teams instead of 12. And I agreed with that at the time. But now I like more how representative it is. Like, if you can get more conferences in there, I do like having a group of 5 in there, just because what if this is the Cinderella team? I want one to get a chance at least. Having 2 in there, I think, is too much. It kind of gives me last year vibes where we had the seeding wrong and we had too many teams that were getting blown out. We're going to see this year. What do you think about? I'm going back into this offseason drama, but what do you think about having? I think they were going to go to 24. Was what
24 is too many.
Petiti was leading to.
I don't know if that was a head fake just to get what they want, to try to like a negotiation tactic. It's like, all right, I'm going to give option A. They're going to say no to it, and I'm going to get what I want with option B because it's going to feel like, oh, yeah, we can do this. I think 24 is too many. I liked 8. I think they just need to work out the kinks of the 12-team playoff, and the 12-team format's fun. I mean, it was great last year. You know what needed to be fixed. This year, it's going to be great again, but you're going to see what needs to be fixed. Hopefully, next year, they fix those issues, and everything is set and secure because the 12-team format's fun. It is representative, like you said. I'm fine with the G5 inclusion so long as they are able to compete in the game, meaning like I think they should be ranked inside of a certain number. What that number is, they can determine it. If it was me, I wouldn't have it anywhere outside the top 18. Really would like that to be 15, but it's hard for those G5 teams to climb that high. So I'd probably say top 18 for a G5 team. And
I'd give them top 20.
Top 20 is fine, yeah.
Just because it's real easy to get in the top 25 for a G5, but you have to show something to get in the top 20 for sure. And other teams would have to lose ahead of you in order to get there. So, yeah, I mean, and it's something that's always kind of needing to be tweaked every year. They're going to notice different things. That's why I don't think moving on right now is a good idea. Just let it ride, fix what you have now, make it better before you make any changes.
Right. You don't need to keep expanding something that you don't already have as a good system.
Someone's going to complain if they're the 25th if you go to 24.
Exactly. And you just happen to have, oddly enough, this year that if Notre Dame's sitting on the bubble, they could win a national championship as a low seed. That's not going to be the case every year. Or we could just be out here saying this for no reason because Ohio State and Indiana really are that good, and it doesn't even matter. And it was a 2-team race all along.
For sure.
Like we may not have a 7-8 national championship matchup like we did last year. It might just be 1 and 2 or 1 and 3. Again,
well,
we'll see.
Before we go, I got to bring up your highlight of your evening. Last night. Boom. Oh, that was the night before, wasn't it?
Friday night. Yeah.
Man, to me, like, how many questions did you have prepared? Did you have to come up with a lot on the fly or what?
I did come up on the fly, but I mean, we're around Julian all the time, and it's not hard to ask the quarterback at Ohio State some questions. And like I said, I asked him a handful of questions about the offense, the defense, about his preparation, the culture at Ohio State. I asked him about Ryan Day. And then at one point, I told you, I just put my phone in my pocket and we just talked. And it was just a cool moment to have there with him. I had a lot of people when I walked in Saturday morning be like, dude, you are everywhere. Like, that is viral. And I just laughing because it's been funny to me the whole time just seeing it, because if you're going to become a meme, this is a really good way to do it because no one's doing anything wrong here. It was just someone captured a cool moment and now it's gone everywhere. So, this is a cool way to do it. But I've had a lot of people send it to me. Been pretty funny, but cool moment for Julian. And if Ohio State wins the national championship, this is going to resurface. So, I would love for that to happen. But it was great to have the one-on-one time with him and just to be able to talk and hear his perspective on him. And really, no matter what he said, no matter what we talked about, you could just see his poise and his character and who he is as a person. He is extremely intelligent too. Everything that he does is just first class. And Mendoza even said it yesterday in the press conference before the award. He just said Julian is a total class act, how he carries himself, and it's really easy to see why Ohio State is having success with him leading the program. And I could not agree more with that statement. It's completely evident. And we see it in the facility. But even right here, what's up?
Did you say Mendoza said that?
Mendoza said that, yeah. They were all asked of like, what did you learn from each of these players this week, or what stands out about them? And when Mendoza talked about Sayin, that was his moment. I actually tweeted that out, and the tweet's done well with it because, like I said, high class between those two guys.
Sure.
And you saw it in the Big Ten championship game. You saw it here for the Heisman weekend. And if they meet again in the national championship game, I mean, you really couldn't get a better quarterback matchup, character-wise, player-wise, team-wise, if that is what the national championship ends up being in Miami.
You know what will be awesome? This picture will stand next year at New York if that comes back again. And the difference, the clash of how many media are in front of Julian Sayin if he's there next year versus this year, that will be an interesting comparison.
It would.
You better save that one, boy.
Oh, no doubt about that.
That's cool, man. Great experience, and you probably had no idea that something like that was going to happen when you went, or when you even asked for credentials. That, hey, I'm going to be the only one in front of Julian Sayin, and the world's going to know about it.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, you look at, and this is not me speaking selfishly or anything like that, but the headlines from the Heisman weekend. I mean, if you have two main takeaways, it was, okay, Fernando Mendoza wins the award, and then there's a solo reporter with Julian Sayin. I mean, those are pretty much the two storylines that go along with that. Just pretty funny to me.
Yeah, cool. Worked out nicely. That's awesome.
It did. It did. I absolutely loved it.
We got a little bit more in the locker room before we close out the show. They want to talk about the playoffs. Miami looks scary, not worried about the Aggies. Buckeyes will expose them. Everyone wants to get into the offseason comment, so let's get into it. I think 16 teams, the winner of the conference championship, no matter the ranking, get in. 2 G5s, and the remaining at-large highest-ranked teams take the final spots. Bradley, I think that's a decent conversation to be had. If you go to 16, I just kind of like the 12. I just don't like to move things too quickly. Get the kinks ironed out, then move on to 16. But I think if you do end up at 16, that's something that needs to be looked at for sure. Georgia is the SEC's last stand in the playoffs. I
don't disagree.
I will agree with that, but you never know. I mean, no one thought Ohio State was going to just go dominate last year, so there might be a team that ascends. A lot of these teams are getting 2 to 3 weeks off before they play, so they have time to develop. Like I said, this is like a mini training camp, or even really a training camp. They have that amount of time to install new offenses, to determine who's going to be a starter at key positions possibly, or develop a backup. So you never know how a team's going to come out and what motivation they have, like we saw last year. I'm all for sending Miami back to striving for the pinstripe ball. Doing that to them again, that would be rough for their fan base, because we took them off the map and put them at the 7-5 seasons. The trouble with the higher ranked teams is who does the ranking. That's true. I think there needs to be some component. You almost need to have the BCS be a component of the ranking system too, not just the fan base, or not just the committee. I mean, possibly even doing that. They do the fan vote for the Blitnikoff and for the Heisman, so make that a component too. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I do think the committee this year having more former coach representation was better. But the glaring gripe was Notre Dame being ahead of Miami the entire time, and then the flip coming after they don't play. I thought that was a little bit inexcusable from them. Not because I didn't think Miami should get in. I think you have to honor head-to-head. I think Miami should have been ahead of Notre Dame, but waiting to do it on Selection Sunday after we just saw rankings on Tuesday, and you're telling me BYU losing is the difference? Like, Miami's not a better team than BYU. That needs to get worked out.
Yes, and it was almost like they set some things up just in case, and sometimes that backfires.
They were hedging, yeah.
But do you think Lincoln Kienholz enters the transfer portal? If so, go Badgers. The Badgers, you know what? I'd almost hope that he doesn't go there, because it seems like every starting quarterback that goes to Wisconsin gets injured. So it's really tough for Fickell. The last 3 years he's had a starting quarterback injured. That's tough. That's tough to overcome. So I feel bad for the Badgers. But Lincoln Kienholz, I would imagine that he transfers. There is depth behind Ohio State, or behind the room in Ohio State, obviously. So I don't know that there's a reason why he would stay, other than he's just kind of a dedicated type of guy and a hard worker. But I think he's got to go be him and go to a new school and be a starter and make his way to the NFL. It'll stink if we get another kind of situation like Joe Burrow, because I could see him being a stud somewhere too.
Link is good. Kienholz is good.
You guys have Ohio versus Indiana in the rematch for the Natty. Right now, I don't think there's any other way to go. I mean, that should be the odds-in favorite, right? And I think it is in Vegas, so I'm going to go with Vegas.
I have that as my national championship game. Oh, absolutely. The AP polls are not good.
Yeah. And that kind of skews how I think the committee votes too, because you look at what the AP poll is all the time, always. So
Mm.
I honestly do too. We'll get a couple more comments and then we're going to get out of here. I got most likely Texas Tech versus Ohio State. That's a bold pick, man. And we're going to come back on that, Mr. Bucknuts, because I'm gonna keep that one up here. If it turns out like that, we'll give you a shout out for sure. Yes, love Lincoln, and our polls were so much better than the AP poll all year. Yeah, College Football Backers does put out a poll. All right, well, thanks for joining us, man. I'm so glad to have you again. Viral, man. Viral. That's awesome. Good work. Proud of you, and glad you got that opportunity, man.
Oh, thank you. It was a really great time being in New York this weekend. And Steve, I appreciate you having me on the show. It's great to join you guys today.
Yep. Thank you. As always, take care. God bless everyone, and have a good rest of your weekend. Peace out.